This is East Idaho Newsmakers with Nate Eaton.
Hard to believe, but in just a few weeks it will likely be snowing, and snowmobilers, skiers, other outdoor adventurers will be exploring eastern Idaho, and with that comes the risk of blizzards and avalanches. And today we are talking with Summer Andersen, who knows the dangers of avalanches all too well. Earlier this year, her husband was killed in one.
That's right.
And since that day, you have been doing all you can to raise awareness of just how dangerous these things are. And so we're going to talk all about that today. First of all, Summer, let's go back to that day. I'm sure you think about it every day since then.
Yeah.
What was that day like? Just a normal day?
Honestly, yeah. Until that evening, it was an absolutely typical day. So, and then it just turned into a complete nightmare. I mean, that's really like the best word I can use to describe it. It was a nightmare.
So Adam came home from work, right, and said, I'm going to go ride with some friends.
Yeah, he got invited to go out, and it was kind of late in the day, which was unusual, and it was a Wednesday, and, he just said, are you sure you want to go? He said, yeah, it'll be great. We'll have fun. I said, okay. He'd been working so hard. He deserved a little fun. So
he goes to ride in Island Park, and had there been another avalanche accident earlier that year?
I wasn't sure if it was in that area, but I remember hearing about a young father that had died just a few weeks before in Utah. Okay. And I mentioned that to him. I said, you need to have the gear if you're going to keep going this year. This young father just died in Utah. You need to be careful. Adam had ridden that area his entire life. He was incredibly skilled. He was an excellent rider, and so he was confident nothing was going to happen. And to be honest, I was confident too, because I knew how good he was. And even when I heard that there had been a snowmobiler caught in an avalanche, I thought to myself, there's no way it could be Adam, because he's too good. Like, if he would know not to be in a dangerous area, he would know how to get out. He was too good. But I was really oblivious to how dangerous this is until this happened. I've always worked in motorsports and I'd been around it my whole life, but I don't feel like I really fully understood the dangers of them until this has happened, and my eyes have really been open to how many deaths it does cause, how much more of a risk it's becoming the more, I guess, technical and more advanced snowmobiles get. People are able to go places they haven't ever been able to go. And so now they're getting into more dangerous situations. And since this has happened, it's really opened my eyes, and I'm realizing there's a need for people to be more aware.
And I think the thought is, like you said, well, he's so good, he wouldn't get caught. It's the rookies, it's the beginners that hit the snow. They just don't know what to do. So you're at home, and if I recall, you saw a Facebook post, a news post that someone was buried.
Yeah, I saw it, and in that area, Mount Jefferson.
And you knew that's where he was going.
Yeah, I knew that's where he liked to go. And so, and I hadn't heard from him, and it was dark, which isn't unusual, because things happen, you get stuck, or, you end up talking, but then I just, I kept calling, and I just couldn't get a hold of anyone. And then I really started to kind of panic, like, okay, I can't get a hold of anyone in their party. Their wives hadn't heard from them, like, where are these guys? So
you called dispatch, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I called Fremont County. I grew up in Fremont County, and so I called the sheriff's office, and I said, hey, my husband's been snowmobiling, and I see that there's been an avalanche, and he hurried and put me on hold. And while I was on hold, I got the call from his best friend, and it's just as soon as he said my name, I just knew. I just sensed it, and it just felt like the whole world fell apart. I mean, it was devastating.
You had a one-month-old?
Yeah, she was 8 weeks old.
8 weeks old. And a 3-year-old?
3-year-old with disabilities, and then my 6-year-old son, who his daddy was his whole world. I mean, it's a tragedy, and it should not have happened. It could have been prevented if he had possibly the gear, but more importantly, if he had the education, if he would have known. And the avalanche risk that day was huge, but he didn't know. Nobody knew that it's not getting out to people. People are not becoming aware of how dangerous it is. 20 million people recreate in avalanche terrain this year in the United States. Every year they're recreating in there. They need to know. They need to be aware because it happens. It happens way too often, especially in this area. It seems like there's so many deaths every year.
This year, yeah, around Adam's time, it seemed like every other week we were covering a different avalanche.
Yes.
It was either a snowmobiler or a skier, somebody.
Yeah.
So at what point did you decide, I need to do something about this? Because a lot of people could say, I just need to grieve and parent and try to move forward. But you were pretty active early on to do something.
Yeah, I remember it was the day of the funeral, actually. I was talking to a friend. In fact, the Dutchers that work at Action Motorsports, I was talking to McKenna Dutcher and I said, you know, I want to do something. Like I want to make, even if I just bought gear myself and donated it so people can use it for free. And honestly, it kind of just snowballed and kept going. But it started with that initial thought. And then I come to find out there's no warning signs up there at all. And I said, why is there not warning signs? Because one of the deaths that happened later was from someone who doesn't live in the area and isn't familiar with it. So I said, there's so many people that travel to Island Park, they need to know. They need to know this. So it started with, I want to buy some gear and get it up there to use for free. And then it was, oh, I want to do warning signs. And then which was, I want to do courses. I want to do warning signs in lots of places. And like I said, it's snowballed. I've gotten so much support. People reach out all the time and say, I want to help. What can I do? Where can I donate? It's been really great.
I've lived in places where if the river's too high for swimmers, there's a sign that says too high.
Yes.
And like you said, you really, for people that don't really follow the news or track the avalanche dangers, even if you do follow the news, a lot of times you don't know. You just want to go have fun.
Absolutely.
Do you know what happened? Were his friends ahead of him? Was he behind him?
He was in the middle. So there was 3 of them, and apparently he was in the middle, from what I understand.
And it didn't hit the first rider.
No, it missed both of them on either side, from what I understand, and then he was caught in the middle. From what I've been told, he rode out of the first one, and then a second one came down and got him. So, and then they weren't able to find him. I mean, the most excruciating night of my life. I had no idea where my husband was, and it was too dangerous for people to go look for him. I mean, if he had just had a beacon, even if his injuries were too severe, I wouldn't have had to live through that night of not knowing where he was and knowing that he was alone in the snow. I mean...
And he was there the whole night?
He was all there all night. They didn't find him until the next morning.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because it was dark and...
Yeah, and it was dangerous. When I talked to Search and Rescue, he's like, I'm sorry, Mrs. Andersen, I can't send people up there. It's too dangerous. And even then, I'm like, I understand that. Like, I get it. I don't want anyone else to get hurt, but please bring my husband back. So yeah, we had to live that whole night not knowing where he was.
How did you tell your kids?
My oldest is really the only one who understands. He's 6, and he was there with me when I got the phone call. Yeah, and that was, I had to tell him, Dad's been in an accident, because I didn't want to frighten him, and I didn't want to scare him. I didn't think he'd understand what an avalanche was, so I just said, Dad's been in an accident, because we didn't know where he was, and people said, maybe he'll get out, maybe he's out, and he's just, waiting for someone to find him. And
were you holding on to that hope? Or did you know?
I knew in my heart. I knew. I could feel it. I could feel that he was gone. But family and friends said, maybe they'll find him alive in the morning. You never know. But I knew that he wasn't there. But I didn't feel like I could tell my son, Daddy's gone, because, I didn't know where he was. So it wasn't until they called and said, they found him and he's gone. The next day was when I could really look him in the eye and say, okay, he's gone. Yeah, it was a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. You have those nightmares that your wife or husband or child is in an accident or dies. It's like that, but times a million. It's so much worse. I don't even have the words to describe it.
He was 36?
36 years old. Yeah.
36, he comes home, you have the funeral, you say, we need to do something, and I think within a few weeks you were holding the fundraiser at Action Motorsports.
Yeah.
And tell people about that, what that was for.
Yeah, so they they were so great. They were like, let's do this. Let's do an education course. And of course, I jumped on board and I said, we can use this as a chance to raise money and get these bags in Island Park for people to use for free. And we had an awesome turnout. We raised a lot of money, and it was great. And then, like I said, it just has kind of snowballed into something bigger. It just keeps going. We had a lawyer reach out in Utah, and he set up a nonprofit for us. So when people donate, it's tax deductible. And I've just had so many generous strangers that say, I want to help, or I've lost somebody, what can I do to help you?
And so the money is for the avalanche bags, which explain what are in those bags. A lot of people aren't familiar with snowmobiling.
Yes.
What is this bag, this kit?
The biggest part is the avalanche bag that blows up, that kind of like brings you to the surface. And then there's a probe, a shovel, and a beacon. So, I mean, it's over $1,000 worth of gear for one bag. So you can understand why people don't have them, especially, if they're only riding a couple times a year. That's a lot of money to invest. But I mean, on the other hand, what's your life worth? Obviously, it's worth it.
So you put them on like a backpack?
Yeah, you buckle them in, and then when you get caught, you pull the string and it blows up, and then you've got the gear to get out, or if someoe's lost in there, you got your probe and you can poke in the snow until you find them. So,
and then the beacon is like a GPS, kind of?
Kind of. So if you turn your beacon on, everyone else has their beacons, it takes you closer to where they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you wanted to get these bags just to put up in Island Park for people to take if they need them?
Yeah, we're going to have 4 to 5 of them. They're coming in soon, and they're going to be up there, and we're going to keep them at High Mountain Adventures. People can use them for free. So that way, there's no reason anyone should be riding without them. They're there to use completely for free. So it's been great. And now we've got the warning signs too, and hopefully next year I can do Bonneville County, get signs in Palisades, and have some bags here so when people are going, they can just go get it. There's no reason anyone shouldn't have them.
So you're going out with the Department of Forestry, U.S. Department of Forest Service, to put these actual signs up.
Yeah.
And how many signs?
There's 5 trailheads, so we've got 5 signs, and we're going up tomorrow to install them. And so they're going to be about 12 feet high, so you can see them over the snow.
And what do they say?
It just says, beware, this is avalanche country. Make sure you know the snow. That's kind of been our hashtag, know the snow. And then it gives 2 websites where you can check the avalanche conditions for that day, so it kind of tells you how severe it is. And then I also put on there in memory of Adam Andersen, because once you hear like the name and realize like if someone actually lost their life, I feel like it kind of like brings you to realize like, okay, this is actually dangerous. I need to make sure that I'm getting home at the end of the day. That's the hope anyway.
What was the process like trying to get this done? A lot of times working with government agencies, there can be red tape.
Forest Service was amazing. They were instantly supportive, and they just said, if you want to do it, this is how big we need it to be, this is what we need it to be like, this is how tall we need the posts, and then I made sure to have them approve it before I had anything printed. But yeah, they were instantly supportive.
And so you got them all printed and made.
Yeah.
And you're just going up with them, and they'll kind of tell you where to put them.
Yep.
And you mentioned maybe Palisades down the line.
Yeah, I'd like to do Palisades. I know personally a lot of people that have lost lives there, and so I just feel like that's like the next step for me is to get there. And I hope to just travel around in different areas and make sure that there's signs everywhere, because I feel like that should be necessary. Like you said, you go to the river and it says no swimming, or whatever else it may be. People just need to be made aware.
When your husband died, we got an outpouring within hours of people that knew him and talked about what a good guy he was, and he'd be the guy that would snow blow the other driveways in the neighborhood, and he would do all this. So many people saying they're just crushed. What was your husband like? Oh,
he was amazing. He was honestly larger than life. Like he was incredible. He had the best personality. My life with Adam was so much fun. It was a blast every day. I mean, he made me laugh every single day for almost 10 years. I feel honestly really fortunate to have had him for 10 years because it was so much fun. And he was an incredible dad. He adored those children. And it breaks my heart to see my kids now, because I'm like, oh, they're so fun, they're so cute. And he's missing that. He loved his babies.
And so how have you been doing? I mean, you speak so eloquently and
oh, you're kind.
I mean, you really seem like you're put together.
Oh, thank you.
Is that how it is? I mean, I'm sure there's moments and days.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, anyone who's had a major loss in their life, they can tell you grief is a roller coaster, and it's it's really hard. I mean, it's been really difficult to try and rebuild my life.
You've moved from Ammon.
I did, yeah. I moved to the Boise area to be closer to my mom, which has been great because then I've got more help with my kids and a support system, you know, that can step in and help because my kids are so little and I've really got my hands full and some days I'm just barely keeping my head above water. Like it has not been an easy year by any means. I honestly can't believe that I'm sitting here talking to you about this. It's been really difficult.
In a way, I asked you this on the phone the other day, but in a way, does it help to have kind of this mission?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I notice that when things get really hard for me, I start brainstorming again. Like, what else can I do? Like, what are some new ideas? And I start, I pick it back up and I just dive back into it because it really does help. I mean, honestly, sometimes I sit and I wonder if it's making any difference at all. I don't know. But for me, I'm like, if one person doesn't die from this, then it's totally worth all the work. But will I ever know? No, because you don't count how many people don't die in an avalanche. But I mean,
you may though with these packs. Someone this winter might be wearing one of those packs.
That's my hope. That's my hope is that those packs get used. Like I want people to go get those and use them because that's what they're there for. Take them out and make sure that you have them on because sometimes having the gear isn't enough, but at least your family doesn't have to live through that night of not knowing where you're at. They can find you immediately. And, possibly having it on is just a reminder of the terrain that you're in, just a reminder like, hey, this could happen, and it does happen.
Do you, have you heard from other wives of husbands who have been lost in avalanches or family members?
Absolutely. I've been touched by how many people have reached out and said, my brother, my son, my best friend, I was with him. It blows my mind how many families this has touched. I can't believe it. I cannot believe how many people have experienced this when it can be prevented. People need the education and they need the gear and they just need to be careful. It's happening way too often. It's way too much.
Your son's turning 7.
Yeah.
And you said, he shouldn't have to have a birthday party without his dad.
Yeah.
How is he doing?
So Adam and I always made a big deal about birthdays. Our kids' birthdays, those were a big deal. Those were the best days. And my son's sad. He's realizing, my birthday's coming up, but my daddy's not going to be there. And it breaks my heart every time. Every time, he just is putting that together like, he's not going to be there for any of my birthdays. I'm excited for Christmas, but Dad's not going to be there this year. And it's like, it's heartbreaking and it shouldn't be happening. It seems senseless to me. It's tragedy.
Because you're going through a lot of firsts this year. First Halloween with Adam, first Christmas, first birthdays.
Yeah.
Do you foresee yourself snowmobiling again? Because you were big into it, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, on one hand, I'm like, absolutely not, never again. But I've been invited to go do some courses, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to go get certified. I'm going to learn everything I can so I can keep going with this and do all that I can. So, I say, no, I'm not going to, but then I'm signing up to go learn more.
He'd probably want you to do that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's the thing. That is not my goal to scare people or to discourage them from doing it because, that's what my husband loved. Like, that was what he loved to do. I just want to encourage everyone to do it responsibly. Like I said, I don't want to scare people, but you need to be aware.
Some people, after a loved one has passed, say that they feel guided or touched to do certain things. Have you had any experiences like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, every time I sit down to do something like this, everyone says, I can't believe you're not crying. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm not crying either. Like, I don't know how that happened. I do. And it just, like I said, everything's been pretty good. Like it's gone really well. I'm getting so much help that I can't help but keep going forward because it's like I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. Never would I ever have thought that I would be talking about avalanches constantly, but for some reason here I am and I'm doing it and I enjoy it. I like working on this. So yeah, I definitely feel like I'm getting some help for sure.
There's going to be some people that might say, that pack's heavy. I'm an adventurer, it's not going to happen to me. What would your message be to them?
Yeah, my husband was probably one of those guys. I can guarantee you, he'd be like, no, I don't need that. Like, you need it. You have to have it. I mean, it's not worth it. It's not worth not having it.
Proof right here.
Yeah, look at my situation. I mean, 3 beautiful children and a wife and a great life. Like, we had a good life. We were happy, and it was ripped away in a moment. Just in a moment.
The Adam Andersen Avalanche Project, you've got a website and a Facebook page.
Yes.
If people want to donate, you can go to that. We'll include the link down below. Also, the signs, by the time you watch this, the signs will be up.
Yes.
And you're doing another course, another class at Action coming up.
On October 27th. Yep.
And that's open to the public?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Chick-fil-A is bringing breakfast.
Hey.
Yeah, we've got lots of good stuff. We're doing a raffle again, so there's tons of prizes to win. Lots of awesome stuff. Yeah, it's going to be great. And they've got great sales on all of their snowmobile gear, so it's a good opportunity to come in, get what you need, and win some fun stuff and learn, the most important part. And I've got lots of good courses that I can send you links to if you want that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, Summer Andersen, you've inspired so many people, your story, I know, across the country, not just in Eastern Idaho.
Oh, thank you.
Sadly, it's due to the result of a tragedy, but
It
hopefully a tragedy that can be prevented for other families watching.
I hope so.
For more information, check out the website down below, and I'm sure if you have any other questions for Summer, you can reach out to her. And,
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Our best to you and your family.
Thank you
and
so
happy
much.
birthday to your little boy.
Yeah, thanks. He'll like that.
Yes, and thank you for watching. Have a good week.